Hey, what's going on, my friends? Welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Victor, and today I'm going to share with you an energy reading for tonight's new moon and solar eclipse. As you can already probably feel and even see in your own life, it's a very, very, very powerful time. And even though there's a lot of stuff going on in the world, there's a lot of potential for awakening and transformation, especially with folks like you who happen to be drawn to videos like this. It's a bit unusual if you think about it. A lot of your friends and family, they probably aren't on this type of path. But I would bet you have been, maybe even for some time. And for people like you, people willing to look at themselves, willing to take ownership of their life, and willing to grow, willing to change, willing to expand. This very time, even though it is very, very, very challenging for a lot of people, for people like you who have been doing the work, it holds a phenomenal potential. What I'll do now, my friends, is break this down as I normally do into a few different themes that are a bit more specific. Number one, taking back the reins. What I mean by that is you might feel like, you might like look around at your life and realize, you know what, I've been allowing things to be a certain way for a long time, and I'm done with it. It's a good time to say no firmly, boldly to the things that don't resonate with you, and you know it now. You know what doesn't resonate. You know what does resonate. You know your true preferences. You know what you deserve in a relationship. You know what you deserve in terms of your finances, with your career. You know what you deserve in terms of your level of happiness, where you live, how you live your life. And you might look around at your life and figure out, you know what? This ain't gonna cut it. But the hand rests upon you to make that change, my friend, and whereas in the past it might have been scary. You know, it's scary to wake up to the fact that there are some major things in our life that are out of sync, out of alignment, because it's all we've ever known. And the alternative, even though it holds maybe this potential of being better, whether it's a career or whatever it is, or a relationship, living situation, the reality is it's the unknown. It's something brand new, something we haven't yet experienced. There's no guarantees. There's no safety whatsoever. And a lot of times, and for a long time, you may have erred on the side of safety at the expense of happiness, passion, freedom. But the whole time, you, I, and everybody on this planet has always had the power to assert ourselves into our life and create the life that we want and the life that we deserve. It's within us. It's always been there. And you might be finding yourself realizing it, maybe for the first time. And that's an exciting time, man. It reminds me of this movie I saw, American Beauty. It's a really fantastic movie with, what's his name? Kevin Spacey. Kevin Spacey's like this guy. He's a miserable, stereotypical, middle class, working class drone, basically. He goes to work, he eats shit from his boss, he hates what he does, his wife treats him poorly, his kids don't respect him. He's just this miserable guy floating through life aimlessly, going through the motions. And finally, something happens where he just wakes up and he realizes, it's almost like he has this awakening where he's like, oh my God, how could I have possibly allowed my life to turn into this? None of this is what I want. And he just starts to kind of like slowly but surely go through this like metamorphosis, almost remembrance of his true divine power. And the very next day he goes into work and he has some kind of slick little scheme where he's able to tell his boss off and get like a year's severance pay. I forgot what he did. He kind of bribed him in a way. Not that I'm condoning that, but the point is he's like, he got a bunch of money. And then he starts rocking out to rock music. He remembers he loves rock and roll. His neighbor moves in. He's like a pothead, so he buys some weed. He's out, and it shows this scene where he's out in the garage smoking weed, listening to rock music, off of work. His wife comes in complaining. He tells her off. He just wakes up and takes, not condoning these certain specific things. It's an amazing movie, though. You got to see it. But basically, it's like this awakening of his power, awakening of his freedom, awakening of the fact that he can live life on his own terms. And maybe, hopefully, you're starting to finally realize that. And regardless, you might if you don't yet realize that, you're going to feel the pressure. What you'll find is there's a person or a situation that's out of alignment in your life. A lot of times when these, especially like full moons and new moons, yes, but when eclipses come in, this misalignment becomes so uncomfortable. Or maybe it will say it's a person, and this person you've known in your heart is not like really meant to be in this particular aspect of your life, and you've known it, you've sensed it, but you've been hoping for the best, hoping to wait it out, hoping it resolves itself, etc. It's not going away, it's just getting worse, they're coming closer. And you might find yourself, this person just doing thing after thing after thing after thing to the point where you're like, enough! I've had enough. And that's like the mantra, enough. You get to decide what enough is enough. And only you can set that boundary and draw that line in the sand, cut that cord, whatever it is. Only you can say no to the things in your life that no longer serve you, that no longer resonate. And only you can muster up the courage to go forth into the things that are probably calling you. You probably have a couple of options here. One is the safe, the familiar, but the frustrating, the annoying, the draining, the miserable. And then there's the unknown, which holds possibility, but it's terrifying. You have the choice, and you know which door to open, my friends. And now you can use this eclipse as a permission slip to open the door of your own choosing and put yourself on a completely new life path. Number 2, and this is going to certainly help you a lot with number 1, rediscovering your passion. Passion is a very interesting energy. It's not always good, it's not bad, it just is. Too much passion can lead us to sort of stray at times from, being grounded or being in our hearts or being considerate. But not enough passion allows us to get walked all over in life. So you might find this like reawakening of passion. Maybe it's something that sparks it in you. Like I remember years ago, I was sort of feeling like this, many years, and I was at a 9 Inch Nails concert, and I love that band, man. And this badass lead singer, Trent Reznor, came out, and he's got this way of just like building up his songs. They start off kind of like doo-doo, real slow, but by the end there's this massive like orchestra, this like a massive climax with his vocal just like he's like a shaman, raises the energy. And anyway, as he did that, like towards this one song, I forgot what it was, I felt this feeling inside of myself, like that is also me. Not like a rock and roll star, but that type of passion. I have that fire. We all have that fire, that creative flame burning within us, desperately wanting to express itself. And you might find yourself reawakening to that. You might find yourself rediscovering who you are. It's easy and very normal these days to completely forget who we are and find ourselves just, again, like Kevin Spacey, going through the motions in a life that doesn't even satisfy us at all. But we're stuck, we're obligated. Every moment of our day is tied up with obligations. But again, these eclipses, they come in, they shake up our world, and it is uncomfortable. You might feel uncomfortable, you might have anxiety, you might have this sort of sense of impending doom, which really it's just like an awareness that things might be off in your life. But from this sort of discombobulated state that the eclipses successfully put us into, we get to start seeing things from a new angle. And seeing aspects of ourselves that we maybe have forgotten about. This happened to me recently in Salt Lake City. I felt like this weird calling to go and see this Tool concert all by myself, which I have not traveled by myself in many years. And I just knew I needed to go. And it was kind of intimidating because I had a feeling it was going to be some type of transformation I was walking into. And what ended up happening was me being alone in this really small ass apartment, except for the concert. I was just chilling there basically. And I could do whatever I want. My kids were, here in Austin, where I'm at now. My wife was I had no obligations whatsoever, which is very rare for me. And I found myself it was interesting to see what I found myself drawn to. And what I found myself drawn to is this, filming videos. I couldn't stop myself. I couldn't stop writing and creating stuff for y'all. I wrote an entire, almost a 20,000 word, course, which could be a book almost, about fat loss for empaths. And the point is, I had gotten away from my passion. I too have become overly occupied with just a million different things going on, many of which are not really connected to what I really want. So for me, this is a way of revealing, this is what you love to do. Why are you not doing it? Don't you trust it'll support you? It always has. And for some of you, it maybe hasn't yet. Some of you might be completely aware of what it is you'd love to do, but you don't believe it will support you. But I'm telling you, when you really express what is meant and desiring to come through you, there is a reflection of that energy. And that energy is abundance. It is happiness. It is freedom. That energy is like your gateway to it. But no one does it. No one does it. So we question ourselves, we doubt ourselves. Mom's not doing it, uncle so-and-so, my brother and sister, they're doing it. It doesn't matter. They don't know what they got. Most people do what they think they need to do to survive. And they're operating on fear. They're operating from ego. They're operating from scarcity. They're operating completely from this dysfunctional conditioning imposed upon us from a gazillion different angles. But you are going through an awakening. You have this opportunity to start to see things clearly. But you don't always see it up ahead. You feel it. You feel it within yourself. And you have this chance right now to start to do something with that energy. And that energy is going to feel like it needs to get out of you in some way. And let it out. It's amazing. It feels fantastic when you finally allow yourself to be who you are and express your truth in the world, however that looks. And you can trust. And I know you know this intuitively, but I'll remind you, you can trust it will support you, it will come back. Number 3, stepping beyond the fear. Well, I didn't tell you about that day that night at the concert when I saw the 9 Inch Nails situation, as I explained earlier. Right after I had that realization that this energy is something I have in myself as well, and I'm excited, and there's this awakening of passion. Right after that, you know what actually happened? Paralyzing fear overtook my body. I became petrified. I don't know why, I just was. And this fear energy was so strong. I didn't know what to make of it. I thought, whoa, maybe not. Fuck that. Nope, maybe, nope. I'm reconsidering what I felt. And what really scared me is I knew better. I knew what I felt like 3 moments ago was as real, was as true as anything. Why all this fear? Because the closer we step towards our truth, which again is more clear during these eclipses, it tries to present itself to you. It tries to show you this is who you actually are. And as you step into it, what gets pinged are the reasons why we're not there in the first place. Mainly, for most of us, especially like humans on planet Earth, it's fear. It's blind fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear we're not worthy. Fear. And it can be intense. These eclipses can make you very viscerally aware of, just to the extent of fear, energies, and frequencies you are literally walking through life with. It can be completely all-consuming. And sometimes this fear can start to attach itself to thoughts, thinking. And we start getting kind of paranoid and thinking we need to adjust ourselves, shrink back where it's safe. I spent a long time trying to remove the fear from myself. Years. Painful years of doing somatic release breath work, drinking ayahuasca, taking psychedelic, mushrooms, San Pedro, I'm a QHHT practitioner. I'll do past life regression. I got to get rid of this fear, I said. Because it's preventing me from being who I want to be. It's making me think I can't even do it. It's making me doubt myself. It's making me see myself in such a distorted, limited way. I need to get rid of it. And then what I realized is that it's not about getting rid of it. At least I've yet to discover a way to successfully remove and unload all of it. I haven't gotten there yet. I've made some progress, but it seems the more I've made, the more is there. The more sensitive I become to the remaining fear, which is more than I thought. And what I realized along the way is I don't have to get rid of it. I have the power to choose to step through it. Just like you do. I no longer resist it. I no longer try to get rid of it from a place of, like force and like resistance, essentially, is what that is. It's the opposite of what actually does transmute it, even if it seems on paper to make sense. I'm going to go drink ayahuasca. I'm going to do breathwork. I'm attached. I'm afraid. And what I've learned that I can do is be patient with my fear. This book I've been reading every morning by Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know the name of it, honestly. He's got so many books. True Love it might be. And he gives the analogy, and I've shared this in our email recently. He gives the analogy of how most people do what I was just discussing. They want to get rid of their fear. They want to avoid their pain. They want to stuff it. They want to remove it. Like most people resist it and stuff it. You folks might try to get rid of it. It's still kind of the same thing, though. He says what we need to do is treat our pain, which is just sort of a fragmented part of ourselves, the same way a mother would treat a crying baby. I watched my wife, when we have 3 children, I watched her like literally transform into a mother. Almost like months before we actually had our first child. Like she just changed. And this leader, like a fierce mother lion just sort of came up within her. This knowingness of how to tend to a child. And anyway, when the baby would cry, you would see Patty just almost like an animal, like with that instinct. I'm gonna go. She doesn't give a shit who she's walking away from. The baby needs her and she knows it. And what did she do? She'd go and she'd pick up the baby. She might walk in there with like intensity to get there, but once she got there, she'd pick up that baby. And the baby would just, not always, but usually soften just from Patty's loving, unconditional presence. It's so beautiful. And then Patty, being like the good mom she is, she'd be like, oh, diaper needs to get changed. Oh, there's a rash. Oh, she would figure out the problem really quickly, and then she would deal with it. Why don't we do that with ourselves? What do we think this fear really is? It's like the squirms of our inner child saying that I have pain associated with this energy that you're now trying to bring me into, this passion, this new direction, this unknown. It scares me. Instead of stuffing it, we can be with it. Like a mother would to their baby, and it works. Just breathing with it. And the Buddhists, they say that they meditate so much because to them they're cultivating this other alternative energy. They cultivate it of mindfulness. And then they said they use their mindfulness to embrace and soothe and hold space for their fear, their grief, their shame, etc. And it works. But regardless, we have the power to step through that fear, my friends. You have that power to step through that fear. And what happens when you do that, what you see is most of the time we're worried about things that aren't even really real, things that aren't going to actually happen. Because we're guided, because we're being led, because we have a new support system from the angels and the ancestors and your guides and your intuition and your higher self. It's all there. That's why this is all happening. You're being led up this sort of ascension mountain towards more of yourself, more love, more spiritual connectedness. So we're good in actuality. But if we don't give ourselves a chance, we don't ever sort of courageously step through that fear, we'll never really create new reference experiences that can even sort of help the paranoid, fearful little inner child that says, nope, all new things are bad. Well, no, inner child. The last 3 times I've taken leaps of faith, it's worked out beautifully. I remember years ago when I was like having to sort of build up my business while living in credit card debt, while living in a 21-foot RV with my entire family. Spirit led me into this, you could say. And it was so crazy, man. It was so uncomfortable. It was the epitome of the unknown. But in going through that and seeing where it ended up, which was a gazillion times better than where I was at the start, even though it seemed a little sketchy at times. Now I know. Now I do have a much easier time trusting the ways of spirit. I do now have an easier time stepping through that fear because I've been doing that for a long time. I've been stepping through my fear time and time and time and time again. And in doing so, every time I get to reclaim a new version of myself. I get to have a new reference experience. It takes the edge off that fear. It still stings. It still scares me every time it comes up. But there's a part of me that knows it's okay. And it's not as scary as it might seem. But anyway, you might find yourself contemplating this. And number 4, my friends, is balance. I say that because it can be sometimes difficult to stay balanced, stay grounded, stay centered, stay humble, stay heart-centered when we're starting to taste, maybe for the first time in a while, our own power. That same passion energy I was describing, it also kind of can, left unchecked, without discipline, it can have kind of a shadow side as well. I've known people, you maybe have as well, that are extremely charismatic, so, just such big personality, so charismatic, but also they might struggle in their relationships. They might not sometimes be aware of how they're affecting other people. And I know I've gotten that way as well, where I've had, because a lot of my theme in my life has been like remembering my power. I kind of grew up feeling extremely like less than, unworthy, insecure. And then I went through the spiritual awakening where I would, from time to time, what would be presented to me is my power. Is like this knowing that you are powerful, Vic. It doesn't matter what had happened to you or how you used to think of yourself. You have this divine flame inside of you. And what I would do sometimes in the past, and even now to an extent at times, when I would like remember that, it would be like an overcorrection, where I would become like this bulldozer. I'm powerful. Say no. I take all my advice I said previously like too literally, too much, to the extreme, where I realize I'm getting a little sloppy, making some sort of mistakes. So I say that also because it's very challenging to stay grounded in this type of energy. But this was more like a tip, you could say, rather than like a prediction, because a lot of people might not ground themselves, but there are consequences to not doing that. Life mastery, in my experience, really is a lot about balance and not erring too far on any side at any time, and just being that kind of like center point within the hurricane as best we can. It's not easy. Which leads me to point number 5, is patience with yourself. Having patience with yourself. A lot of the things I suggested, go forward, be courageous, go through your fear. What can happen sometimes, and oftentimes does happen, is we'll do that a little bit, and then it's too much for us and we come back. And then we feel bad about ourselves. But what I found is that is still progress, that is still good. And overwhelming ourselves is not the answer either. Being too meek, too passive, too stuck in inaction due to fear, that's not the answer. It's kind of like, it's a balance of pushing ourselves, tapping into our power and courage when called to do so. At the same time, understanding that most of us, if we're honest, are carrying around a lot of baggage. And that baggage can very quickly become triggered as we start to like bulldoze ourselves forward into this new version of ourselves. And it's okay to take our time. It's okay to take a rest stop. It's okay to go back down the hill and camp out for the night and take a break and reclimb that hill maybe a week or two later when you feel ready. This is actually a lot faster than going too quickly. I ran into this a lot with when I was a personal trainer and I was training clients to like lose weight. It's kind of most of what I did. And I would prescribe this diet to them, and they'd come and they work out, and they had their plan. And there was like maybe a percentage of the people that would look at the plan and think, okay, Vic says I'm to eat 2,200 calories. Why not eat 1,800 calories? Maybe I'll go faster. Vic says to do a little cardio twice a week. Why not do 4 times a week? And then for that first week or two, they would be like, they would see a little bit faster results because they're sprinting, they're going towards that goal very quickly. But what always happen eventually is because they're sort of starving their body, their metabolism would slow down. And because they're not giving themselves ample time to recover, those cardio sessions become harder and harder and harder. And then they're getting the sniffles and they catch a cold. They're starving and they binge out. And because it becomes too imbalanced too quickly when we go too fast. We go unnecessarily fast. There's this saying that I've been reading and bringing to mind for myself as well. It's something that archers say, people that do archery. It's this, it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. With all this power comes great responsibility. It means we need to be more mindful, more humble, more disciplined to stay that way. It takes discipline from me to stay grounded. I don't know about you. I have a little timer I carry around. It was like $2 on Amazon. And I literally will sit multiple times a day for 10 minutes and just center myself because I so easily get uncentered. And when I'm uncentered, which is a nice way of saying unconscious, I make mistakes. So it takes discipline to be this way. And anyway, I'm kind of saying a lot of different things, as you can see with this last point, but just sort of trying to give you some words of wisdom for my own mistakes, for my own past, of not understanding the potency of this passion energy, of this divine power that we can come into from time to time. It does, in my experience, it's wise to balance it, stay humble, and stay centered as best we can. And then we can it's like walking softly, but carrying a big stick. We can have everything we want in life. We can move forward very quickly without overwhelming the poor inner child that's doing its best to keep up the pace, and without stepping on people's toes along the way. It can be a win-win-win, and the balancing key is this presence, this patience. So with that said, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the video. I wish you well on your journey. Thank you so much for the likes and the shares and the comments, and welcome to all the new faces. It really is an honor and a blessing to have you all here. And also, welcome back to the longtime viewers. It's so wonderful, just so you know, for me to see you around the channel. People I recognize from 4, 5, 6, 7 years ago, still there supporting me and the channel. It means a lot to me, and I thank you so much, my friends. Much love. God bless all of you. Peace.